I don't think it's dramatic to say that Season 4 of Warzone in its fourth year is arguably one of the best updates we've ever had. And in fact, it really has made me feel optimistic about the state of Warzone and how this game can continue to improve. Actively on live streams for the last 6 to 12 months, all I've spoken about on this channel is how Warzone needs to focus less on the big shiny gold events and stickers and stars, and focus more on the quality of life details that fundamentally make for a better core gameplay loop. When Warzone originally released back in March 2020, even though it was flawed, the core gameplay loop existed. It was a loop of gameplay that felt satisfying, it felt enjoyable, and even though things were exploited like metas and busted things here and there was still a fundamental flow to gameplay that just worked. But then Modern Warfare 2 came along, and everything changed. The movement system changed, the audio system fell apart, and then we had Modern Warfare 3 and everything changed again. The movement system changed once more, and systems within the game suddenly became reworked or restructured. And after 4 seasons, it feels like everything's kind of back into Warzone now. We have Foresight returning. We have limited blueprints returning into the game, custom challenges, all of the nice features like Foresight that we had from previous versions of Warzone and Specialist Bonus are in Call of Duty Warzone alongside better quality of life. And so far, up until Season 4, Warzone has neglected Big Map. It has basically funneled everything into Resurgence, and it's not really focused on quality of life to offer good experiences across the entirety of Warzone. It sounds really silly, but just adding 20 more players to Big Map, adding a few more bunkers and locations that made the map interesting and a little bit more dynamic, and also introducing this Black Ops 6 event, which clearly has a clue and Easter egg based system behind it, has reinvigorated the Warzone experience. And all it took was something simple such as quality of life and a little bit of emphasis on content that wasn't just Resurgence based. It is wonderful that we have Fortune's Keep back. It is wonderful that we have Rebirth Island back. But honestly, the cultural moments that existed within Warzone from 2020 onwards all took place on Verdansk, all took place on Caldera and Verdansk 84. The big reveal events, the big moments that people remember, the modes that they enjoyed playing, for the most part took place on the big map experience. And it's been a really long time since we've had something to do, something to hunt around in the big map environment to get us excited for not only what's next, but also just enjoying the flow of Warzone as it is. I would say the last couple of weeks playing Warzone Season 4 have probably been the most fun I've had in the newest version of Warzone. There's more chaos and more interaction happening on the big map experience, and whilst the bunkers aren't exactly massive and necessarily map changing, it would be nice to see more POI changes in the future, it's nice to have something to look around for in Warzone again. Something as simple as having the quality of life for audio being greatly improved over the last few seasons, having essential features like self-revive sounds being added back into the game, having ziplines have decent functionality and gas masks have decent functionality. All of these basic quality of life features that make Warzone a better and less frustrating experience coming together in Season 4 has made Season 4 really good. And when you slap in extra players on Big Map, which finally reduces the actual amount of downtime and makes it feel more like the Big Map experience we've played over the last few years with better flow and better interaction, then you're really on a winner. Call of Duty is now back into a place where for the most part everything just works. And yes, I know there can be improvements to servers, and I know that there can be improvements to anti-cheat, but at a fundamental level, the core gameplay loop feels satisfying, and it's finally nice to actually look forward to things releasing in the game. We have a new SMG in the game and a new sniper in the game, which actually feel phenomenal. The Kar 98 is a lot of fun, it offers a very unique player profile, and the new SMG offers a whole new wave of mobility, as do the tac sprint boots. And that's what Warzone has always done so successfully. It's capitalized off of that core gameplay loop by adding in a little bit of spice, new weapons, new POIs, new things to pay attention to in the map, and new game modes as well. And we've finally seen the return of buyback solos. Season 4 has really seen this resurgence of Big Map, and my challenge to COD at this point is very simple and very clear. The reality of this game is that it isn't necessarily going to get the heights of 2020 again, but it can get a really healthy player base that's committed to the game if it keeps working on this core gameplay loop. We need more quality of life, and we also need more things that shake up the game in interesting ways. The Kar98 and new SMG have certainly done that, and whilst I was originally against the idea of bunker buster bombs, they've actually weirdly worked in a very conducively good way for the big map experience, and there's just more variety happening within these modes. Call of Duty at this moment in time needs two things. One, it needs to continue its overall improvement of quality of life, but two, it needs to start working on stuff that is new. We need more variety entering the experience. We need more random things like the red doors that we've had in the past, new POI changes, map changes, things that add a layer of interest to the existing realm of Warzone that don't complicate the gameplay loop but add to it. And this could be literally anything from changing a certain part of the map or how certain things work to changing something like a new kill streak being entered into the game, like an EMP. And the second thing is more LTM variety. Call of Duty has had LTMs that have existed for a very long time that have never returned, that have produced iconic moments within Warzone. The Halloween Zombie LTM always is a riot, but think about some of the other ones in the past that we're only just starting to see again. Buyback solos has been a huge part of Call of Duty that's literally only just returned in Season 4, but there are so many more. We have Juggernaut Royale from the El Clasico Verdansk days that to this day hasn't made a return. And the options in my mind are entirely endless. Call of Duty has a litany of game modes from bare bones to infected that would work in a Warzone format if they were introduced in limited time mode options. An LTM that was a more classical BR with no loadout drops and only ground loot would probably do really well in Call of Duty, and it's something I think a lot of people would enjoy. A limited time mode that was effectively zombies/infected, but inside Warzone would also do very well without necessarily having to do a Halloween event. The Kar98, the new SMG, and honestly just the 20 players has made me realize how even the smallest of changes that add even a breath of variety into Call of Duty can greatly improve how the game feels. And LTMs are absolutely the way to go for this. Third-person Battle Royale modes, things like Infected, things like Barebones, things like Juggernaut Royale, and even more crazy ones like shotguns and snipers, whatever it so happens to be, are simple and effective ways to make Warzone a more refreshing experience. Now we know it's officially been confirmed that Big Map Ranked is returning in 2024 before the release of the new Black Ops 6 title that was included in the Season 4 patch notes, and I'm glad to see that. But I really do feel as though we have a casual big map experience if we introduce Big Map Ranked, and then we also have an LTM focused mode for Call of Duty Warzone. We would have the three things that make this game successful. A casual experience for friends, an LTM experience for a little bit of fun with a different gameplay loop, and a ranked experience for people who like to take the game seriously. I know the ranked experience is something that only appeals to a certain percentile of the overall audience, but I really think it's a very unique thing that Call of Duty Warzone, if done correctly, would actually rival other Battle Royale games in terms of intensity, viewership for competitions, and also just general enjoyment. I actually think Warzone in a competitive format, if bans are applied correctly and things are balanced correctly, can make the PUBG experience look even secondary in places. And as somebody who committed a large quantity of time to Warzone 2's Big Map Ranked experience during the Al Mazrah era, when the game actually wasn't all that enjoyable in terms of core mechanics, it was phenomenal how much that ranked experience carried Warzone through that summer for players who were committed to putting lots of time in it. We know Black Ops 6 is on the horizon. We know a new map is probably going to come. We know new weapons will arise. And we know lots of new characters, skins, and everything else in between will be added to the game. But at a fundamental level, Call of Duty needs variety, whether that's rotating big maps, whether that's LTMs, whether that's introducing a ranked mode and offering a litany of modes at the same time. We're finally at a point now where in Season 4, Warzone is back to where it was in 2020, and not in a bad way. I consider myself to be one of Warzone's harshest critics, but also somebody who celebrates it as a game that, quite frankly, keeps me playing for 5 to 6 hours a day, which I think is an achievement as a streamer, if I'm honest. And I really hope Season 4 is the beginning of more steps forward and less steps backwards. But I'm interested in hearing you guys' thoughts and feelings below. Let me know how you're playing Warzone in 2024 in the comment section, and also what other content you'd like to see from this channel. I've been making a bit of a return recently to focus more on the ins and outs of Warzone and the technicalities in terms of how you can improve, and there are lots of videos coming on that subject matter. But I want to hear your thoughts and feelings below. Let me know, and I'll get back to you in the comments.